News.com. If you haven't tried it, why don't you go to Central Illinois' leading online source for local news, Police Blotter, for the record information, obituaries, and more on your desktop, laptop, iPhone, or smartphone, DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWitt County's #1 source for local news is on the air and online 24 hours a day. The latest local news stories are heard every hour on Central Illinois' news station, the Big 1520 AM and 92.3 FM WHOW. Stream live at DeWittDailyNews.com. They're also heard every hour on the station that's your easy choice, 95.9 FM WEZC. And to read the latest local news on your electronic device, including tablets, iPhones, and smartphones, go to DeWittDailyNews.com. DeWitt County's #1 source for local news is on the air, online 24 hours a day.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence, and the WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in this segment of the morning show is Piatt County Sheriff Mark Vogelzang. Good morning, Sheriff. How are you?
Good morning, Seth. Doing great. How about yourself?
Doing good. I know you've had a busy summer. You've been all over the place. You were doing in Washington, D.C. recently for some FBI training. We'll dive into that a little bit. I know that's got you pretty fired up. But let's start with just the summer in Piatt County, Sheriff. How are things going in Piatt County this summer?
Well, it's been very hot and humid, so trying to keep cool and try and stay out of that heat as much as possible. Been pretty lucky. Haven't had too many storms this summer, knock on wood. Just had that one major one at the end of June.
Yeah, let's revisit that, of course. How did Piatt County fare in that storm, Sheriff?
Boy, there's a lot of the villages that did have quite a few trees knocked down. We did have a lot of people without power for multiple days, but our dispatch center stayed very, very busy that one particular day. I think they had 151 911 calls, 116 non-emergency calls. So, when you have a dispatch center that's got one or two dispatchers in there, it's a lot of work for them to take all those calls in. They're dispatching the police, the fire, the ambulance, trying to reach out to the power companies to let them know about the lines being down. So they stayed very busy.
Yeah, one thing I heard a lot of, Sheriff, at least up here, was those active power lines. They'd get knocked down, and the power company hadn't had a chance to take to turn those off, and so you had some small tree fires and things like that. Then I even heard of it a little bit after the storm because they'd get a line back up and then they turn it on, but maybe down the line a little bit there was still a tree in contact with power lines and that sort of thing. Did you have much of that? I'm sure that falls more on fire, but did you have much of that from what you could tell?
Yeah, and we did have some deputies tied up, here or there to watch the roads that had the downed wires on them until we could get barricades up and things like that. So, yeah, it did take a little bit of extra work, but we eventually got it all cleared up. Power company was great. It just, they've got limited staff, and they've brought people in from all over to help get the power up as fast as possible.
How long did you hear of some folks out with power that week?
I think I personally was out about 3 days. I think 4 or 5 days was the longest that I had heard.
Yeah, we were out until Sunday nights at our house, so that was an adventure on its own. But glad everybody's kind of starting to clean up, and hopefully those efforts wrap up here as we get into August. But Sheriff, what else has been happening this summer? I know the summertime is busy because you get calls for all sorts of things. What have the trend lines told you about what your deputies are responding to this summer?
It's one of those that we always go to, our domestic calls for a service, but we always have our traffic enforcement. You have your accidents. We've been very lucky on burglaries. We haven't really had too many of those. I know they've had a rash in town in Monticello, but not too many of those accidents. We haven't had a whole lot of, knock on wood. But we always try and stay busy. We try and do the foot patrols, vacation checks. As a sheriff's department, we have paper services, warrant activity that we're trying to do. So we always try to stay busy.
Tell me about the vacation check program, Sheriff.
Well, that's one of those that if somebody is going out of town, they can notify our department, and as deputies are in those particular areas, they're driving through just to make sure there's no unusual activity in the houses, and trying to keep extra eyes on those addresses. But you also try and encourage people, as they're going out of town to, if they have neighbors they trust or family members that can kind of keep an eye on it, stopping your newspaper, stopping your mail, things like that. Having lights come on or off, anything you can do to make it less likely to be broken into as a burglar's looking at that particular house.
What's a Piatt County resident have to do to get signed up for that service?
That's just a matter of contacting our sheriff's department. There is, I believe, on the website too, that they can sign up for the vacation checks as well.
So easy enough. That online resource
Absolutely.
has to be pretty nice because, maybe sometimes you get a last minute trip that comes together or something like that. And, sometimes those that to-do list, there's a thing or two that falls through the cracks, and maybe that vacation watch is one of them. They don't get the time to call. So being able to just pull it up online, that's got to be nice and convenient.
Absolutely.
Very good. So that's kept you busy, it sounds like.
It has, and then one of the other things that we're kind of excited about this weekend, the St. Jude's run. Monticello's got about 35 runners that'll be leaving town here in Monticello about 5 o'clock Friday, and our department always leads them, takes them to Peoria. So our runners are going to be running about 85 miles. So we're hoping that they have some good weather for that event.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Now, is that just a matter of escorting those folks out, or is there more to it than that, Sheriff?
No, we have a squad that takes them all the way to Peoria. Obviously, it's a slow pace for the squad, but there's runners from all across the state that are coming in there. So as you get closer to Peoria, you start seeing a lot more runners from around the state. So it's a really neat event.
Very good. So looking forward to that. That's coming up this weekend. I know Monticello has a very active, participation in that St. Jude run like you were talking about. So excited for those folks to be a part of that. Now, again, our guest on the phone is Piatt County Sheriff Mark Vogelzang with us here for today. Sheriff, let's spend the rest of our first segment talking about you were in Washington, D.C. recently for some training, and I know this has you very excited. So tell us a little bit about this. What was going on in the nation's capital for you?
It was a great event. The FBI started a course that's called their National Command Course. It's a week-long course where they bring in chiefs and sheriffs from across the country. So we had roughly about 53 different chiefs and sheriffs in there. It was a week-long class where they had different people come in covering topics from sleep, which obviously very important for police officers and deputies, given the fact that they work different shifts, leadership, wellness, physical fitness, stress, suicide, communications, video evidence. So it was a great week that the FBI completely paid for. There was no expense to the county or myself personally. So it was a really good time, and was able to learn a lot from different speakers.
Yeah. So what were some of the highlights for you of the lessons you took away, the things you're going to bring back to Piatt County? Speak to that a little bit, Sheriff.
Well, anyone that's worked shift work understands how difficult it is to get good sleep. But one of the doctors that was there was a renowned sleep doctor. He'd been on Fox News multiple times and really talked about if you can't get that 8 hours of sleep from 10 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning, when your body really needs that sleep at night, how to maybe adjust to get that good quality sleep so your body can recover.
For sure. What tips did he have for those things?
The big thing would be not watching TV as it gets closer to the night. Limit your alcohol use, wearing sleep masks, keeping the room nice and dark, things such as that. So trying to bring some of that stuff back to our deputies here so that they can stay healthy and fit for duty. Sure.
Anything else from that convention, Sheriff, that you took away, whether personally or for the department itself?
They had some really good speakers. They had a retired Rear Admiral, retired U.S. Army Lieutenant General that talked about leadership at the George Washington Leadership Institute. stress, little ways to reduce your stress, especially given this job and the amount of critical incidents that officers would see during their 20 to 30 year career. So just trying to bring some of that stuff back to our staff here.
What are some ways that healthy ways that officers can reduce their stress and deal with that stress? Maybe it's not even reducing it. A lot of times that stuff carries with them throughout not only the day or the week, but their time and duration in law enforcement. How do you healthily do a healthy job of dealing with that?
Oh, absolutely. With this job, it's hard to not see critical incidents, and that's what we respond to more often than not. So just trying to find ways outside of work to relax, not bringing it home to your family, having those hobbies outside of work are also so important. And then, being able to have services available to your staff so that they can reach out and get help if needed is so important.
For sure. What are some resources in Piatt County that you can point them to that would be helpful?
Obviously, Piatt County Mental Health is a phenomenal organization that has helped in the past. But then there's also a lot of different resources, not necessarily local, but 800 numbers that are available to our staff. But there are some other organizations that are really focused on first responders in this area that we have numbers posted for our staff if should they need to reach out.
For sure. Sheriff, anything else from that convention you want to highlight?
No, it's been phenomenal. So any other chiefs or sheriffs that are out there would highly recommend it.
How'd you get connected to that?
There's a FBI agent that I'm aware of that I've been wanting to go to the National Academy, being 10 weeks at the FBI, but it's too long to be away from our smaller agency. So he was able to hook me up with this program that's a week long. They also do offer two other ones. This one that I attended is a week, and it's for chiefs and sheriffs of agencies 50 or less. They have a 2-week class for agencies that are 50 to 500 sworn officers, and then there's a 3-week class that are for the larger agencies that are 500 plus sworn officers.
So what you're telling us, Sheriff, is you're well connected then?
It's been very nice, yes, to be able to reach out and talk to people from around the country and see issues that they have, we're experiencing as well, and to try and find or hear about solutions that they are enacting that has helped them, that hopefully we can bring to our agencies.
Sure. Very good. Well, Sheriff, in the meantime, where do folks go to keep up with all things happening in the Piatt County Sheriff's Office? What's the best way to do that?
Look at the Facebook page for Piatt County Sheriff's Office.
Very good. Again, that's Piatt County Sheriff Mark Vogelzang on the phone with us this morning. Plenty more coming up with him on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Monday. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network. We start the day double digit in the red for corn, beans, and wheat. September corn 504 1/4, down 16 3/4. December new crop down 17 1/4, 513. March corn 524 1/2, down 17 1/4. August beans starting today 1461, down 25 3/4. September beans down 34, 1399. November new crop 1348 1/2, down 34. September wheat 678 1/4, down 26. December wheat down 23 3/4, 704 1/4. March wheat 726 3/4, down 21. August bean meal 450.90, that's down 430. And August bean oil 65.99, down $1.61. Opening numbers for this Monday. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
Looking for a new Silverado? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. Yes, we finally have new Silverado inventory. We have Silverados in 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s with several trim levels. Custom, LT, RST, LTZ, and yes, high countries. This month, get an extra down payment assistance on all Silverados. Baum Chevrolet Buick. We have inventory. BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month and get a free Roku 4 lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Piatt County Sheriff Mark Vogelzang, my guest on the phone here for this morning. Sheriff, one thing that is a constant talking point with you and your peers is hiring and the challenges of keeping people, getting good people. Where does the Piatt County Sheriff's Office stand right now?
Well, it seems like it's never ending. We've been very fortunate. We've hired a couple deputies over the last couple of years that were lateral applicants, which is really nice because then we don't have to send them off to the 16-week police academy. They're coming in with a lot of experience. So that's been very, very helpful to our department. And then we also just hired a CO, a correctional officer, that had some experience at another agency as well. So that's been very, very helpful for us. We just made another hire for a correctional officer just this past week. Had a lot of good applicants, which is great. And then working towards hiring another deputy as well. We got physical fitness testing and written testing this coming weekend. So trying to get one more hired for the upcoming academy, which starts the first week of September.
Sure. Well, and Sheriff, your Monticello's kind of in an interesting geographical position where you've got, you've got the bigger departments in Champaign and Decatur there, where both drivable distance for folks that want to live in Monticello but work in those departments. So maybe that is an appealing option for some of your staff. Maybe there's other smaller agencies around that pay a little better. What has the Piatt County Sheriff's Office had to do in recent years to not only make your job attractive, but keep those people that you get onto your staff? How about some measures you've had to do whether it's recently, last couple of years? What have you had to do there?
Well, our county board's been very, very supportive of law enforcement, as has our community. So we were able to increase wages a little bit to be very competitive with other agencies our size. But then we also have, great equipment. We really try and do some good training. We've got a great department as far as the building itself. So really trying to use those features or those aspects to entice people here. But the community itself is very safe. We got great school districts. It's just a great community. So we had a gentleman from the Chicago area that was going to be moving down here to get out of the big city. His wife was going to be working at the local hospital here, and he was just trying to start a family in a little bit nicer community. So I think Monticello and Piatt County draws people just for that reason.
For sure. So in terms of just keeping that staff on and those sorts of things, Sheriff, what have they found to like about Piatt County? What has been appealing about the community for those folks?
I think just the support that we get here versus some of the larger cities that don't have that support for their law enforcement. That in and of itself is huge.
Very good. Very good. So, Sheriff, anything else on staffing you want to put out there for us?
No, like I said, it's one of those that we're always looking for applications. It just depends on whether or not we have an opening. So we do have a link on our website if somebody is interested in being a deputy, a correctional officer, dispatch, court security, things like that. You can go to our website and find application.
Very good. Again, Piatt County Sheriff Mark Vogelzang on the phone with us here for this morning. Sheriff, I know that the Safety Act was upheld by the Illinois Supreme Court last week before, I can't remember now, but either way, there's going to be a lot of, kind of getting used to and learning about that bill and all the things, the ways that it impacts law enforcement. So first of all, just your reaction to the Safety Act. I know, it's kind of been on the radar for folks for a while. It was just a matter of it working its way through the judicial system on the appeals and challenges and things like that. But again, your thoughts on the Safety Act.
Yeah, it's one of those that, I think we did a pretty good job early on when we thought it was going to take effect. But obviously that was delayed for a while with the court process. There's some concerns that we know everybody's trying to work through, but the big thing is looking at the training and seeing exactly how this is going to affect us. I know our mobile training units have some upcoming training that we're going to get to send deputies through. We've got a webinar tomorrow with the Illinois State Police that includes state's attorneys and judges as well. So there's a lot of different things that are coming up to help prepare us for any changes that may be happening when this takes effect.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. What is the, when it comes to the changes themselves, what do you think is going to be most impactful for the community?
Well, I think, when you have people that aren't necessarily going to be brought in and detained, there's a lot of booking fees and stuff like that that will affect counties. So there's going to be a lot of revenue that is not there. So trying to figure out how to continue to run the jail, the court system, things like that, with less funding would be one issue.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people, though, Sheriff, would say, well, that shouldn't be why you're bringing these people in. This shouldn't be a revenue issue in terms of, that's why you're making these arrests and that sort of thing. How about that notion of, kind of the counter argument, if you will?
No, I agree. It's not a revenue that you're trying to go out and make arrests for those, but there's a lot of different ones that arrests are made, and there's a cost to house somebody, whether it's your meals, medical, things like that as well. So just trying to figure out how to pay for all those expenses.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Very good. Sheriff, I can't believe it. I've got about a minute left here with you this morning. What else has been kind of on your mind and on your radar lately? What have you been working on?
Well, we've got the new video system throughout the building to help install new cameras throughout the jail, which will be a big project that we're beginning. And then I know I've talked about it before, the radio project to increase our radio coverage. That's still going forward. It's just a matter of waiting for the Department of Justice to release funds on a grant. So that should cover that expense, that radio upgrade. So it's still moving forward. It's just taking a little bit of time.
Sure. Very good. Sheriff, again, best way for folks to follow along with all things Piatt County Sheriff's Office.
The Piatt County Sheriff's Office Facebook page.
Easy enough. Sheriff, we'll catch up soon. Thank you, as always, for making time for us. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you, Seth.
Again, Piatt County Sheriff Mark Vogelzang is my guest on the phone for this morning. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. Of course, we stream live online all the time at DeWittDailyNews.com.